Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Don Gringo Opinion or Opportunity Show. I have something quite different for you today. So, this is actually going to be the first interview I've ever conducted on this podcast. And I have to say, it's not a political one. I was approached to have a very interesting conversation about a concept you all are going to think I'm crazy, but it's called the Flat Earth Theory. And I was privileged to interview David Weiss. He is the previous podcast host of Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole out in New York City. Currently, he's a successful businessman out of Connecticut, and he is the host of the Flat Earth podcast. He has been intimately and intensively, researching this theory for the past 6 years. And he's also the creator of the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. Now, I know what you're saying. You think I'm crazy for doing it, and maybe I am. But it never hurts to have an open mind, and I promise you, you're going to want to follow this all the way to the end. So, as we go through, please leave comments, leave the likes, leave everything you can, and reach out to me, opinion.opportunity@gmail, info@dongringo.com, or if you want to give it a crack, cracker@dongringo.com. You heard me right, cracker@dongringo.com. But I would love some feedback, and let's keep this conversation and the success of the podcast going. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. So, right. Dave, this is your chance to teach me something new and convince me that the world is flat.
Don, that's a tall order, my friend. Thanks for having me on first. We are taught that the earth is a ball from before we could speak. Sesame Street, the Teletubbies now. I mean, all the kids programming. Once you see it, it's unbelievable how much there is. You go to kindergarten, preschool, there's a globe in the front of the class funded by the Rockefellers. Everything, the global network news, every movie, there's globes everywhere. So it's part of the foundation, ironically, of our entire core belief system. And by the time you're like a 10-year-old, it's so indoctrinated into you. And I've tested this. I've said to young kids, I say, hey, you want to hear something interesting that they won't tell you at school? I get all their attention. I go, the earth is not a globe, it's flat, and they absolutely short circuit. They freak out and they start throwing every single thing that you're going to throw at me today, which is, well, of course, we've known it's flat for over 500 years. Don't be a moron. Boats go over the curve. How can the sun set? What about seasons? What about day and night? What about sticks and shadows with Eratosthenes? All of those questions, I had them too.
Well, the first question I actually would pose, and I was thinking about this prior to the show ever happening, was how did the pagans have it right and we have it wrong? That's what I want to start with. I mean, you're talking about centuries and centuries and centuries ago. When we're talking about paganism, religion, and whatnot have you, everyone said the world was flat. And now all of a sudden, here we are today in a modern society where supposedly we have astronauts going into space, landing on the moon, and we're taking pictures, and everything's a circle. I know supposedly, I know you're going to go there, but I'm just saying that even photographs from satellites show the world is round. So let's go with history of it. How about we start with history, because we're not talking to kids, we're talking to adults. So how did we get from A to B? So where did the history start going off course?
So what we believe our history is all lies. And I've heard this always. And the more I looked into it, the more I've really brought it to reality. And it happened actually in around January this year, maybe December or January. My mother was she lives in an old age community, and she had injured herself and moved into the healthcare facility. She's 94. And I was down there visiting her, and she was taking a nap, and I asked the nurses, I go, is anyone here over 100 that has their marbles? And like, oh, Ruth right over here sitting in the dining room. She's 102. And I wanted to interview her about the World's Fairs, which I was investigating, because everything they tell us about the World's Fairs are a lie, and they don't tell us very much about them.
Are you talking the World Fairs from like the 1920s and stuff like
that?
Yeah,
exactly.
Where they were talking about future cars and future buildings, and everyone's going to be flying and stuff like that?
Yeah. So that's a whole nother show. We could talk about that another time. But I was talking to her, and I said, hey, what did they teach you in school? Do you remember? She was so lucid, probably more lucid than I am. And I said, what did they teach you in school about the Earth when, in grade school? And she goes, they taught me the Earth was flat. She goes, but then they changed it, when I got into middle school or whatever, a couple of years later. And I go, what did you think about that? And she's like, I just thought they were, science was advancing. And when I told her the evidence that we have of flat Earth and how the globe is a lie, she literally started crying. I have a video on my channel. I'll link it to you later. It went viral. People mirrored it all over the place. And then people started interviewing other centenarians. And we had talked to, so she in Connecticut in the USA was taught that the Earth was flat in a public school in Connecticut in the 1920s. We talked to another woman who in the 1930s in Croatia, she was taught that the Earth was flat. Then we found archived articles on microfilm in the 1920s, in that area of all this stuff about flat Earth, about teachers trying to teach the heliocentric model and being persecuted for it. Okay. And so
my question would be, though, on all that, doesn't science allow for evolution?
Evolution, like the human species evolution?
No, I'm talking like, for instance, we start off
science gets better.
Yeah, it gets better. So, for instance, like we started 100%. Off with penicillin as an antibiotic, but now we're so far down the road that science will say, okay, penicillin ain't the best for everything, so maybe flat Earth was what we believed because we didn't have the new information.
Don, I'm with you, but they changed it in the 1920s, 1930s, and the World Wars and the Depression, and they destroy all the museums. They're destroying our history, but there's still a ton of it that's still here that we can look at, and like, these giant cathedrals were built in the 1800s when they had horse and buggies, and we could barely do it today with modern crane equipment. And so you look at these things and you start looking at the history, things don't line up. So my point of the whole story was, you're asking me how people hundreds of years ago got it right. I say anything before 1880 is off the table. We have no proof unless you know somebody that's still alive that was back then that can remember. It's all off the table. It's all lies. It's his story. It's the people that rule the world write the textbooks. Jumping really quick. One of the things that people throw out, we've known for 500 years, Aristophanes, the Greek mathematician, figured it out when sunlight shined down a well and he knew it was directly over him. 500 miles away, he had a friend who put a stick straight up and down, and the stick had a shadow. Okay. And so by doing some math, he figured out the circumference of the Earth within 2%. And this is what Carl Sagan taught us on Cosmos. I remember hearing that on Cosmos. I'm like, God, that makes so much sense. And how it could only work on a curved Earth, right? And so he did the math. But what he doesn't realize is we're told that the sun's so far away that all the rays come in parallel. And so his math would be right if that was true. But on the flat Earth model, the sun is very small and close. So if you on your desk put up two, pens, two markers, stand them upright, and put a light like a couple inches over one of them, there'll be no shadow on that one. But the one over here will have a shadow going like that. I can then do some math and tell you how spherical your table is when in fact it's flat. Okay.
So we're talking about that and this concept, but the other question you gotta roll into this now is, okay, we're saying supposedly astronauts in space. That's a big thing to keep secret for so long, especially with today's technology, number one. And number two, everyone's been taught for the longest time that the Earth has a core, right? That the core is what keeps the world spinning. And
beautiful.
Right? So I'm sitting here trying to, okay, so we look at it from one aspect. Now we're looking at it from another. So,
okay, hold on. You're jumping. I have answers for all of those. You got to take them one at a time. Yeah,
I'm just
one at a time. So wait, let me finish the Aristophanes thing. Here's the funny thing about Aristophanes. He's the most famous mathematician. He figured out the size of the Earth. Other mathematicians that came out of that area in the generations and centuries following that wrote books never once mentioned Aristophanes. That's weird. So we started looking in archives for any books that mention Aristophanes. The oldest book that we could find that mentions the Aristophanes sticks and shadows was in the 1980s, and it was in a Rockefeller textbook. Okay. So it was inserted into our school system as proof of the globe. There's no proof it ever happened, and nobody has ever reproduced that experiment.
So I guess the question that leads me, if we're talking about the education and the evolution of this, is you're saying that, you know, this was something from the 1920s to 1930s that was interjected, but that's a big philosophy change to give to a culture and not have some ramifications for generations or two. And I'm gonna say generations or two, so that would be like my father, my grandfather. That would have affected to the point where my grandfather looked at my father and said, "You're wrong. I was taught it was flat, and these people are lying to you." And then my father would look at me and go, "I don't know what's right, but you know that's what they're teaching today."
Think about this, though. You know, in the early 1900s, we're just coming out of what I call a great reset. And there's very little technology. The printing presses are barely working. So it doesn't matter if we had 100 of us screaming the earth is flat, we're only going to reach the edge of our town. That's it, right? It's not going to go anywhere. But then science, guys in bow ties and stuff come out and say, hey, we've done this. You know, I'm wearing a lab coat. I know, but really I'm just a failed comedian. Okay. and people believe it. Indoctrination. That's what they do. They put it into the schools. Schools don't teach us to think. They teach us to memorize and regurgitate, right? And so if school tells you the earth is a ball, and we're going to get into the ball in just 1 second, and then you say it's flat, you go to the principal's office, you get expelled, you get penalized, okay? And know what they say now? You said earlier, doesn't science always evolve? Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye, I call them, say the science is complete. The science is done. We know the earth is a ball, and they won't even engage in the conversation. That's got to tell you something right there.
Well, I'm not sure if it tells me something other than the fact that that's their firm line in the sand because they made their name on it type situation. Yeah. And I think a lot of people have moved on from the earth to the stars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more important
we're going to get there.
Explore.
Yeah.
Right.
Don, we're going to get there. But a minute ago, you talked about the earth, what keeps the earth spinning, the molten core. So the deepest hole ever dug on a globe or flat earth, doesn't matter. The deepest hole ever dug is called the Great Borehole in Russia. It was a multi-country effort, and they got down just short of 8 miles when they hit an impenetrable barrier. They tried drilling, blowing bombs to it. They couldn't do anything. They tried for years, and they couldn't get any farther than this barrier. They don't know what it is, right? And that's not in the news. It's not in our textbooks, but you can find the information still online about it. So that is, if you want to do a model of that, that's an apple. And they got halfway through the skin of the apple, okay? And while they were digging that hole, they were using ground penetrating radar and all sorts of technology, sonar, sonar's underwater, to see what they were going to be digging into. And guess what? They were wrong every step of the way. Every step of the way, they were wrong on what they were digging into next. So they only got halfway through the skin of the apple, but somehow they know what a cross-section of the earth looks like down to the center. It's all pseudoscience. It's all just, hey, I've got a lab coat, I've got a bow tie, and this is what the earth looks like, and that's what keeps it spinning. It's all pseudoscience. It's all religion.
Well, the only thing I think, which I think we went a little far, was the only thing we didn't really touch on the basics of this was I've traveled and I've never seen the end of the world.
Right. So,
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm a guy who was in the Marine Corps, right? I'm a guy who's in business, own my own business, right? I travel, and I've never seen the end of the earth. So, how do we acknowledge that one? Because being in the military, I would imagine that that's something when you're a Marine and you're stationed on the base somewhere else, or you're on a float somewhere on a boat or a submarine, you're going to run into that. I might possibly fall off this, this into the ether somewhere.
So Don, this is my favorite topic, and we're going to have a little lengthier discussion on this. I'm going to share my screen here, but for those of you just listening on audio, I'm going to be describing what I'm saying, but I'm going to share the screen with you so you can see what I'm saying and maybe even ask more questions. So can you see my screen here?
Yeah.
So this is the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. I'm going to put a little fast forward on it, and you see the hour hand is pinned to the sun is pinned to the hour hand, and it goes around once every 24 hours. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. Like right now, it's noon in Eastern Australia, and it's moving around. And the moon, which you can barely see, the moon is right next to the sun because we're going into a new moon, so you really won't see the sun. If I speed it up, you'll see after a couple laps, the moon will appear on the other side. And then the phases will change. The moon marks the months. The sun marks the hours of the day. And the sun will lap the moon every 28 and a half days or whatever it is. And that's how the sky works. It's a perfect clock. So I'm going to slow it down again. So now you see the moon emerging. I'm going to slow it down. It's going to reset. And if I turn on the stars mark the season. So the stars are going slightly faster than the sun, and they lap the sun once every 365 and a quarter days. So that's why the sun will be in each one of those constellations for about a month. We're going into Pisces, I think, is next or whatever. So it'll outrun.
So basically ancient astronomers and philosophers actually had it right.
Absolutely.
But my question is then, what is the Earth sitting on, number one? And then is the moon and the sun flat?
So we have to stay on one topic at a time.
Okay.
I love your questions. Listen, I was you. And the people who throw out questions and you never get any of the answers because I want to answer them thoroughly. And you asked me, what about the edge? So now you have an idea of what the Earth looks like. Now you see the two yellow lines. The outer yellow line is the Tropic of Capricorn. I'm going to jump the sun out. So now we're in December and it's over the Tropic of Capricorn. And then 6 months later, I'm going to jump it back 6 months. It's over the Tropic of Cancer. And so what's over the Tropic of Cancer, that's the inner northern lands. And it's our summer because the sun is closer to us. Okay. And when it's out in the Tropic of Capricorn, it's farther away from the north, right? The north is in the center, and it's the southern summer. If I turn on a compass, so we're going to answer two questions here. One is, why don't you fall off the edge and you've gone around the world? East and west are circles on a globe or on a flat Earth, okay? If north is at the North Pole, if you want to go west 270 degrees, you have to make a circle equidistant from wherever you are around the pole, around the North Pole. That's the same on a globe. It doesn't prove the globe. It doesn't prove flat Earth. You can go east and west. I've done it myself. I've gone from California. I flew around to Japan. You can go over, then you can come back the other way, China, over Africa, and bam, you're back home. And you think you flew in a straight line, but you flew in a circle, okay? And that is the truth on a ball Earth and a flat Earth.
But my question here is on this flat Earth. It's still circular in nature, right? So on this globe, I'm not going to call it a globe. On this flat Earth representation here, we're saying north is the North Pole, right?
Yep.
That's north, no matter what.
No matter what. So think of it Antarctica? I'm gonna show you the whole thing, and we're gonna talk about Antarctica too. The north is a magnetic north. We're not allowed to go there, but some people believe there's a magnetic mountain there. That would explain why compasses point to the north on a flat Earth. You can use your ball Earth explanation too. That's fine. I'm okay with that. And so clarify. So hold on. Let me finish.
No, I want you to clarify a statement real quick. You said that we're not allowed to go there. Why?
Because we'll figure out that the Earth is misdescribed. It's
so what stops us?
I'll go there too. You're asking great
No. You made a statement. I just want to make sure we clarify why we can't get there.
So, one, we've all saw. So I'll jump forward. We all saw in elementary school or junior high or high school, whatever, the National Geographic documentary of the guys that went to the North Pole with their dogs and their sled. You remember that?
Sure.
We all saw that, and it got colder and colder and windier and darker, and they were running out of food, and the dogs were freezing to death. I think they had to eat one of the dogs or something. It was just crazy. And then they got there, and it's like 40 below zero, blowing wind, dark, and they're like, hey, we're here. And now we got to work our way all the way back. And that's kind of where it ended. Basically, what that did is it trained everybody to say, I never want to go there. Nobody wakes up and says, hey, let's go to the North Pole. It's horrible. It's horrible there. So what's at the North Pole? I don't know. Planes aren't allowed to fly over it. That's interesting. But what's more interesting is Antarctica. We'll get there in a second. Let me finish so millions of people have circumnavigated east or west or east, going around the earth. You can even go from, America, you can go north, pass over Alaska, and then while going without turning, all of a sudden you're going south, okay? Because you've passed the North Pole. South is every direction away from the magnetic center. So wherever you are, your compass is going to point to the center, and if you put your back to the center and walk, you're going south. South is this way. South is that way. South is every direction away from the center. And this is how compasses work. Compasses don't work on a globe Earth. Compasses don't work in Antarctica, by the way. So we'll get there. What has never happened is nobody has ever gone south and come back. Nobody's ever gone down. I'll turn off the compass here. Whoops. Nobody's ever gone down and come up like off of Santiago, going over Antarctica, and then popped up over in Australia. No one's ever done it.
Well, wait a minute. Someone's had to have done it.
So hang on.
Nations that have exploration stations on Antarctica.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that in a second. The last person that supposedly did it is a royal guy named Colin O'Brady, and then the guy before that was some other royal guy. And they're not shy. They show us their course, right? So they went like from America. I think one of the courses was like from America. They went down to Santiago, Chile. They went to Antarctica. They went to a point and they turned around and they came back up. They went all the way up to the north, went around the North Pole, and then came back to America. And they said that was circumnavigation. That is not circumnavigation. Circumnavigation is going from Santiago, Chile, and showing up in Australia, or going from, Johannesburg, South Africa, and popping up in New Zealand. Okay, that would be circumnavigation going south. Nobody's ever done it. No plane has ever done it. Nobody has ever done it.
So you're telling me like a lot of these people who sail around the world or fly around the world have actually never actually flown around. They just flown in a big circle.
They absolutely. And that, by the way, that works on a ball Earth too. Now there's the Antarctic Race, the sailboats that it's called the Southern Race, and basically they're going at a latitude around 60 degrees, which is, if you measure it and the speeds that they go, you can't confirm the speeds that they go. It all makes sense on a flat Earth. Here's the problem. So this white ring here is the shoreline of Antarctica. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. They don't teach you that in school. Okay, so we live in the Antarctic basin. So all the world's oceans are really one ocean. It's one big pond. And Antarctica is the raised shoreline around the world ocean. Then inside the world ocean, you have all of these islands, and they're the continents. Okay, North Pole's in the center. You can go round and round and round, round and round and round, east or west. But if you keep going in a straight line in any direction, you're going to be going south. You're going to hit the shoreline of Antarctica, which some people call the ice wall, not the Game of Thrones. But when you get to Antarctica, there's a 200-foot cliff, about that, and then an ice plain that goes for hundreds of miles. And then there's a mountain range taller than Mount Everest. Okay.
So the actual tallest mountain in the world is not Mount Everest. It's in Antarctica.
It's the Antarctic mountains that surround the entire world. Okay.
Okay. Now I just got to throw this out there because
yes,
recent discoveries have said that there's actually settlements in Antarctica, buildings things that have been found in the ice.
So we can get into that in a moment. I believe that that climate's change. I believe, and again, but I have to say this every time. Anything beyond the shoreline of Antarctica or above cruising altitude of an airplane is speculation, because we can't go up there. We can't touch it. Let's talk about the Antarctic.
We can fly above the actual shoreline of Antarctica. There's stations in Antarctica.
Nope, you can't. So the Antarctic Treaty was made in 1957. 50 some odd countries all signed on. Russia, doesn't matter what wars were going on, what disagreements in the world, fighting over oil, none of that mattered. We must save the penguins and the ice. Nobody could drop a cigarette butt on the ice, or else it'll ruin pristine Antarctica. This was in 1957, before conservationism was even a thing. No one even knew about it at then. But that's been in place. No corporation, no person is allowed to even question it until the year 2043. That's strange. But meanwhile, we can deforest the Amazon, the old growth rainforest, and plant palm oil trees. Okay? Something's wrong here. So you could say, well, how are they going to guard all of that? If the flat earth is true, why don't you just go? Well, even logistically, people have tried and boats have been sunk. People have been jailed. But even if you wanted to, GPS doesn't work down there. It's cold, it's dark, and the compasses don't work over there, and there's no place to get gas.
Well, you saying that, but as a person who served in the Marine Corps, one of the special duties, assignments in the Marine Corps is called an Antarctic float.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like we don't get down there.
Let's talk about that. There's about 15 different companies, tourist companies, that people can go to Antarctica. Thousands of people go every year. It costs a minimum of $10,000, $20,000. You get to go for 3 days. You basically get to go to the shoreline. They show you some penguins. Then they take you maybe a little farther out south. They show you a pole in the ground. They tell you it's the South Pole, but it's really just a pole in the ground. You have no way to verify it because everything's white and can't really identify anything. And you have no GPS.
Right, shifting landscape because of the snow and the wind.
Yeah, and that's it. So the Antarctica is the answer to what's going on. And there's been whistleblowers that have come out of it that have worked in Antarctica that talk about something called sky ice, where it's this deep blue ice that doesn't melt, it just shrinks. And it's so cold that they can't take it anywhere to test it because it melts. There's no way to keep it cold enough before it just shrinks up and disappears. And it's literally sky blue in color. So on the flat earth model, many people believe, including myself, there's some sort of dome separating us from what they call space. I think it's more like water, and that it's frozen. But it could be an energetic thing. It could be made of something completely different. I don't know the answer to that.
But you're hinting at that human society worldwide is possibly just some experiment from some other society.
Well, yes and no. I don't believe that, all of these countries like Russia and the United States, they're buddies. There's no Cold War. It's all nonsense to divide us and separate us and take our power away. It's all to build the military industrial complex. It's all to keep us believing that we live on a ball. And I'll answer that question because there's so many questions I want to answer before that. But why the lie is going to be the big one, and we're gonna do that closer to the end. So Antarctica has got this treaty. We have videos. We have a documentary we did. It's 35 minutes long. Anyone that watches that will never ever say, "Well, why don't you just go? How are they going to stop you?" Because this shows you. I mean, if you want to explore Antarctica, it costs you hundreds of thousands of dollars in application fees. Then they deny you and you don't get your refund. Okay. That's the easy part. That's the easy part. And it gets more complicated from there. It's unreal what they've done. And Antarctica, again, everyone's like, "Oh, I don't really want to go there," because it's miserable and cold. And there's so many secrets in Antarctica. So
with the digital age today, and I'm not saying for the purpose of proving this right or wrong, but I would think that in the information age today, that it's kind of hard to keep that lie for so long. And wouldn't the first person to bring it to light be more powerful in that aspect of the truth, more believable if they can actually say, hey, listen, this has been going on, here's the proof, and we're the first country to embrace it since, say, 1920.
Gaddafi, I believe Gaddafi was trying to do that. Didn't work out so well for him. Yeah, didn't work out so well for him. He discovered pristine, what we call primary water below the desert. You ever hear of the Great Man-Made River?
No.
Didn't, right? So Muammar Gaddafi, when looking for oil, hit what's called primary water. It's the water that I believe supports the earth below us. And it's a pristine, perfectly ancient water. And he started building an aquifer system through the deserts. They literally pipes so big you could drive trucks through them. And he built it. It took him 40 years. And he was anyone that wanted to open up a farm, he gave them land, water, tractor, seeds, cattle, everything they need. And organic farms were popping up all over Africa. Gaddafi was going to feed all of Africa. Okay. This doesn't work into the New World Order plan. And so you know what they did? When he finished it, the U.S. and other forces went over and blew it up with depleted uranium bombs. Okay. It's the saddest story ever. And then if you look at the people people like, well, he was a murderous guy. He would rape women. These are all stories. Okay. It's really hard to find his UN speech and to get a proper translation of it. But he predicted everything that's happening now. He said, they're going to do this. They're going to have a virus. They're going to take over the world. They're going to lock you down. And that's when they shut him up. Okay. He didn't play in the petrodollar. He sold oil he wanted to sell it for gold dinar. And he gave all the profits from his oil to the people in his country. He had the wealthiest company. Those people loved him. When he would go down the street, he could walk down the street. He would drive and stand up out of his window, out of his sunroof, and people would praise him. And we were told, oh, they're praising him because he'll chop their head off if they don't. Okay.
But doesn't that raise the, well, I want to say raises one speculation, actually two speculations. So I want to sit there and say that, first off, that if the world is doing this in order to keep a world order, this is going to turn into a worldwide revolt at some point, because it has to once the truth comes out, right?
Do you see what's going on in the world right now? I mean, do you see how they're locking us down? Many of us believe it has to do with the flat earth awakening. There's millions and millions of us across the plane that are waking up to this. And here's the funny thing, Don, I don't know how conspiratorial you are, and I hate that word, but I used to do a podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, where we examine things like the thing that happened in New York, and I want to say it, depending on where this is running, and censorship, thing that happened in Connecticut and Boston. And all of a sudden, flat Earth, came into the play, and I really didn't want to even look into it. But when I woke people up to other conspiracies, they still went to work. They still were like, and they forget about it. But when you wake someone up to flat Earth, all of a sudden they can see. All of a sudden they realize they don't have to give their authority away to the ruling elite. They have no power over us. So the reason that they want to keep us believing in what we believe that we're on a spinning ball, lost in space, spinning, out of control, is because we're disoriented. We don't know who we are. We don't know what our true power is.
But don't you think? But don't you think if the truth came out and say your truth is the truth, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be a unifying factor worldwide? That
it certainly is. It certainly is.
I mean, all of a sudden, it's not United States of America. It's not United States of or USSR. It's all of a sudden it's we're all in this one little pool together at some point, and there's no way out. So you better learn to live with each other.
Don, that is exactly why they need to keep this a secret, because this is their most important secret. This is why they have the fake space programs. This is why they have the Antarctic Treaty. They are sent. You can go on YouTube and look up stuff about Bigfoot or aliens. It's all over the place. But flat Earth, they're censoring the crap out of it. You can't find the good stuff on flat Earth because they don't want people to know. People were waking up faster than they thought they would, and they're shutting it down. It's really difficult.
My concern here is this, though. I mean, it's very difficult in today's society with cameras everywhere, recording devices everywhere, including the one that's in our hand at any given time, to keep that secret for so long.
Well, here's
You're
the
talking
thing.
1 century as of this year. If you say 1920 was the time they changed it,
Yeah.
you're talking 100 years, and you're talking evolution in digital and digital media.
Don, I'm with you, but here's the thing: is if they let people go, how are you going to know that the Earth is flat? Here, think about this: all of your God-given senses tell you that you're flat and stationary. Okay, but they tell us that we're spinning, and we believe it because they told us, and we have no proof. This image behind me is showing what our solar system's doing. The Earth is spinning at over 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. That's faster than the speed of sound. So when you watch a sunset, you have to believe that you're falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, and that's making the sun appear to set. We're also orbiting around the sun at 66,600, interesting number, miles per hour around the Earth, okay? Around the sun, okay? So we're orbiting the sun, but the moon is orbiting us. The sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, but 400 times farther than the moon. That's why they look like they're the same size. But then you watch the sun rise and set, and you watch the moon rise and set. They look like they're the same size. They take the same path. But you have to believe what I just told you. Not only are we spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting at 66,000 miles per hour, we're chasing the sun at over 500,000 miles an hour, flying through space at over 500,000 miles an hour. And that entire system is moving sideways at 1.2 million miles per hour. Okay. But somehow, while all of that is going on, all of our senses tell us that nothing is moving. All of our senses tell us that we're still and stationary, and you can have perfectly glass lakes reflecting mountains where we're curving around a curve. By the way, if you're going 500 miles an hour in a straight line in a car, you can drink water, you're fine, you can light a candle. But as soon as you start taking a turn, and that's what the spinning and orbiting and all the motions are, they're circles, things are going to slosh all over the place. But we have calm, beautiful lakes, okay? Perfectly glass. All of your common sense tell us that you're flat and stationary, and only nonsense tells us otherwise.
So my question would be then that if you're going to say that this is flat, this is the reasons why it's flat. So basically, the space program worldwide space programs are nothing more than money ciphers in order to keep everything quiet.
Well, NASA gets, they take $65 million a day from us to fund NASA. I don't believe that NASA really gets that money because, it was hard one for me to swallow. But when you look at the evidence that these rocket ships make absolute no sense. I mean, no human could survive the acceleration that they supposedly go. In 6 or 7 minutes, they go from 0 to 17,500 miles an hour, or sometimes they say 25,000 miles an hour. That's like increasing speed on some of these burns where you're going from 0 to 300 every 5 seconds. No human body could do that.
But with that being said, though, when you think about it, though, there is this current space race with all these different private companies in conjunction with NASA at this point, right?
So
you don't think someone like Elon Musk
NASA
is just wasting hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars for what? I mean, what's the end goal?
Have you looked into Elon Musk? Did you look at his Tesla in space? Did you see that?
No, I actually haven't seen Tesla in space. I got to be honest with you. I thought it was a little ridiculous to send it into space to begin with.
So if you analyze it and look at the footage, it's so fake, it's unbelievable. Even Elon Musk at the press conference says you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, quote unquote. Okay, you can tell it's real because it looks so fake, but you can also tell it's fake because it is so fake. The Earth was glitching out. So you send your car into space. You have car dealerships all across the world. Don't you think you'd have that poster in every single shop? Don't you think it would be on the cover of National Geographic, Time Magazine, Newsweek? It was never on any magazine cover. There's no photos of it. There's no advertisements. There's nothing. There was no logos on the car. It's all baloney.
Okay, but we still have to figure out why they're getting so much money to send rockets in the air.
They're not. They're telling us it's this much money.
Well, wait a minute. Listen. I lived in Florida for a while. You can go over to Cape Canaveral and you can see a rocket lift off. I mean, that's real. I mean, those rockets.
So check. You never can get within 10 miles of them, but yeah, you can see them. They're big enough. But if you watch them, they go up and they go out over the Bermuda Triangle, and then within 1 minute, you're looking at a CGI on the television, and they just crash into the ocean. There's a place I forget the name of it. There's a place out in the ocean where it's it's known as the NASA Junkyard, where all these rocket bodies are at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, and no one's allowed. It's a Puget Island or something like that. I forget the name of it, but somebody just did a video on it the other day. Once you look at this, if you look at the space station, and I've seen the space station, I've tracked it. Oh, there it is. It went across my sky in 2 minutes, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. But we have thousands of videos of them faking what's going on the inside, where they're hanging from wires and their wires get caught up, or their CGI overlays when they're floating things in space. Sometimes they disappear and then they reappear in a different position, or somebody's hand goes through somebody's face. Okay. This is because they're not even in the same room half the time when they're interacting with each other. They're in green screen studios in Hollywood. It's all fake. It's unreal.
So Hollywood's a perpetrator of this.
Oh, Hollywood is the biggest deceiver, for brainwashing as it goes. Look here, I'm in the space station. Look, I'm floating. I'm in space. And now I have a green body stocking that I can have someone come in and then float things around, and I can touch them and they go, woo. And we do it. And my budget was $14. Okay. Okay. And look, I'm floating, and people I did this. Some people even believe this. It's ridiculous. Right. And look at them in space. They're always like this. They have big belts on. We've caught them hanging from harnesses. Whenever they're flipping something around, it's not a real thing. It's virtual reality. They have contact lenses in it that show them where it is. And a couple times they've missed the pass off, and the guy still had it in his hand, and the other guy took it and put it away, and he had nothing in his hand. So here's the thing. You catch them doing it once. They're lying. And then you unwind the whole thing, and it all comes apart. But we've caught them thousands of times. And the app that I showed you, that's my app. And I created it because of the YouTube censorship. I created it so people can find the real information. Like if you said, hey, Dave, send me a video on the fake moon landing. I sent you a video. As soon as that video is done, YouTube is going to suggest autoplay a whole bunch of propaganda videos. Okay. And they're going to derail you, and they're going to confuse you, and they're going to make you give up from looking. The app, what it does is every day there's a new video, a featured video every single day that shows up on the app. And there's short ones during the week, longer ones on the weekend. And then when you're done with that video, that's all you have to watch. I tell people, take the Flat Earth app challenge. Watch one video a day for 2 weeks, and you'll know the Earth isn't a globe. But some people will watch it, and then it'll suggest other videos. The app will suggest, not the YouTube algorithms. But what happens is people email me, go, hey, I saw you on the Don Greco show. I thought you were an idiot, but I spent the $2.99 for your app because I wanted to take your challenge. And I didn't want to wait for every day for another video. So I hit the archive button, which has all of the videos for the last 2 years. And I haven't slept in 2 days. I hate you. The Earth is flat. Now what do I do? My family thinks I'm an idiot. Okay. and I say, welcome to reality. What I tell people is, when you take the challenge, don't talk to anybody about it. Don't tell your friends what you're doing, because you're going to get so excited once you see it. You're going to start saying stuff, and you're not going to be able to have all the answers, and they're going to embarrass you.
Well, the thing here I still get at is, why the lie for so long? What's the benefit of the lie other than the usual money and power, right?
Yeah.
Other than the usual money and power, which in itself could be enough. I'm not.
Yeah. It's not just money and power. So on the app, there's the little question mark. You see you got the buttons there. The question mark brings you up to the top 21 questions. Like, as you asked, where's the edge? Or what about gravity? And there's all these videos, but why? No, I didn't
get into gravity. That's a good question.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But why the lie? So if I click why the lie, up comes a video about why the lie. And if I hit the little down arrow, these are all unbelievable videos about why they would lie. So I'm going to tell you why they would lie. They would lie because if you don't know who you are, where you are, what you are, if you don't know that you're a powerful soul having an experience, a physical experience here on Earth, and you think that you're just a random speck out of trillions of other specks that happened when nothing exploded, and then everything coalesced, and some made rocky planets and some made gassy stars, and those stars' gravity grabbed the planet, and then everything worked out perfectly, and lightning struck and created an amoeba that turned into a fish that grew legs, that climbed out of the water, found another fish that grew legs, had sex, had a monkey, and that monkey had a retarded baby that was a human. Like, if you believe that, you can believe that, walking down out in the street in the sun on a beautiful day, some crazy coronavirus is going to make you sick from somebody walking across the street.
That leads to the speculation, Dave. You can't leave it like that. It leads to the speculation of, okay, so Big Bang isn't real. So what is real then? What is the origin?
So here's the thing. There's so much that we don't know. Before I got into Flat Earth, I was, researching lots of things, and I'd be listening to podcasts, and I'm like, wow, this guy's great information. And then he'd bring out the Bible. He'd mention Jesus. He'd mention Muhammad, something. And I'd be like, that's it. Bam, tune it off, delete everything he said. And I would unsubscribe. And that's who I was. But then when I finally was forced to look into Flat Earth, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to prove the globe. This is how you become a flat earther. You try to prove the globe. Once you understand what the globe model is, you like, holy crap. And then you realize the earth is intelligently designed. It's designed. We are the center of creation. We're not a random speck lost in space. So then you say, okay, there's a creator. Now that conversation can go 1,000 different ways.
All right, we'll worry about the creator for another show for me.
No. I'm not going to even answer that because I don't know.
Back into something else that you did touch upon. Now, the other thing you did touch upon was the moon and the sun circling a flat Earth. Yes. So what keeps the moon and the sun circling a flat Earth, right?
Yeah, so the moon is the most mysterious thing out there. And again, the app has some videos on it that can answer that. But I'm trying to think of a way to explain it. So if we live, this is what I believe. And again, as I said earlier, it's anything that's above, where we fly and beyond the shoreline of Antarctica is speculation. And we've done experiments. If you get a glass dome, you can buy them on Amazon, a little glass dome, and you hold a pen light above it, and you move the pen light across at the same height, you'll see inside that dome what looks like a perfectly ball sun that goes up, rises, and sets, and then disappears, just like we see here on Earth. So my belief is that the moon and the sun that we see, for lack of a better word, are projected into the Earth system. All of the lights in the sky that we see are within the Earth system. The Earth is the foundation, is the basement of the universe. I don't have the right words to describe it.
Basically, we're like one of these experiments that happen to be here for someone for some reason that we don't know. And again, it's them taking care of, like we would water a plant or feed and water a pet. You know what I mean? Is what based not in those exact terms. I'm not trying to turn anyone off or misrepresent what you're saying, but like you said, there's no good way of explaining it other than the fact that there's something else out there that we're in this type of
if you're a religious person
for a reason.
If you're a religious person, you believe in God, the God could be presiding over the earth. I do my podcast, the Flat Earth Podcast. My co-host is a Bible. I don't call him a Bible thumper because you would never even know that he's a Bible guy unless you started talking about the Bible. So he's not one of those aggressive Christians, but he's a super Christian and he knows the Bible inside and out. And I never lead with the Bible. He leads with the Bible. I lead with the science. And there's a Bible verse that supports everything. In Genesis, it says God separated the waters from the waters and created a firmament to keep them separate. And he created the earth. And then he created the sun. All of that lines up with the flat earth. Again, I don't know. I can't vouch for the Bible. I have my beliefs in it, but again, those are things that I can't look at today.
No, And I get that. For me, though, I mean, I was baptized Catholic. I was an altar boy, the whole nine yards. And as I grew up, I became more agnostic than atheist because it's hard to believe that there's nothing out there with everything going on. But yeah, that's what keeps me a little bit open minded because I'm still searching for my one answer. But I'll tell you what, it makes you, what you have going on definitely makes you think, and I would definitely want to keep this conversation going. That's for sure. I mean,
Definitely.
I mean, it's not something that I can sit there and say, no, I can't see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying, but I need to buy it is what I really mean.
Well, again, the ball Earth has an advantage over the flat Earth. The ball Earth, you could just say, I believe, I got it, I believe it, and you're done. You can go drink some beers, watch a movie. But the flat Earth, it takes time and effort. I've been researching flat Earth every single day and night for 6 years now. Okay. And so I know more about the globe than the people that defend the globe. But as far as the Bible, you say you were raised a Catholic. If you go in the app and you hit the web button, the second from the bottom right, biblical flat Earth, you hit that and bam, we have all of these videos that give you tons of biblical flat Earth information. It's quite revealing, but so it's a plethora of information, on there. So again, people say, where do you get your information? YouTube? That's no place to get information from, and that's nonsense. YouTube is like life. There's people that know stuff, people that are idiots. There's everything is on YouTube. Name something that's on YouTube that's not on YouTube. You can't. Everything's on YouTube.
I don't
right?
know. I mean, I use it for a lot of things. I got to be honest. That's why I'm on it myself. Is because
yeah. So I'm just saying YouTube is just a database where you can find information. Unfortunately, they're hiding flat Earth. That should make you suspicious.
So are maps accurate or not?
No, they're not. The globe. Oh my God.
No, not the globe. Not the globe. I'm asking about geography. Is the maps topography? Is topography accurate though?
But land masses are accurate when you're looking at like the United States. You can use that, but going the United States to other countries, no, it's not accurate. And the airlines. Do you know that all flight routes are controlled by NASA? All flight routes are controlled by NASA. Right? Check this out. Here's the flight route from Santiago, Chile, all the way up to Australia. It goes all the way north across the United States and then all the way down to Australia. You see that big arch? When in fact, they could have just gone across Antarctica or stayed at their 55 degrees south latitude, gone around the short way, which is a third of that distance, and gotten there. But they can't because that's not the layout of the Earth. This is the layout of the Earth. And those same flight routes are a straight line. There's a straight line.
Well, that would definitely make things easier.
Yeah, well, that's how it works. And then, there's wind patterns that they don't even know. Here's an amazing flat Earth proof for you. Let me show you this. All right, where are we going? I have to go back to the app for a second. So above us, the Earth is the ball Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. Okay, so if you go into the app, there's the top button will bring you to the current winds, and if I set it for 40,000 feet, these are the winds at 40,000 feet. These white and pink areas are winds that are 200 to 300 miles per hour. That's at 40,000 feet. But think about this. They're spinning on the ball eastward, okay? That means that they're outrunning the spin of the Earth, right? You have to believe that if the Earth is spinning, all of the air is being held on by gravity. The higher up air would have to spin faster just to keep up with the Earth, the ground, because it's making a bigger circle. But it's outrunning the spin of the Earth. That right there proves to you that something else is going on. Something else entirely is going on.
Now, what about water currents?
So water currents and jet streams are another huge deception. I'm thinking if I have the graphic handy. Oh yeah. So here, you know how they always show us the jet stream? It's the one on the right where the jet stream goes up to like Greenland and it goes down, it goes up and it goes down. And it's like, why does a ball make it do that? But they gave us some willy-nilly excuse. You plot those things on a flat earth, they make perfect circles. Okay. So what is more likely? That their crazy cockamamie jet stream just by chance converts to a perfect circle on the flat earth map that they use for navigation. Airplanes, ships have been using it for hundreds of years. Or that the circle is the fake one and it creates that crazy up and down. It makes no sense.
It's just so hard to believe that people would buy it for so long. I mean, we're talking a century.
I'm with you.
I mean,
and guess what?
I'm
a lot of people
not an overnight term, but pretty much a 10-year period where people
Don,
have adopted the theory.
Don, think about it. People don't even know that they don't know. They don't know what to look. People don't know that what the model is. Here, and by the way, I'm going to ask you questions that I had no idea the answer when. So don't think I'm picking on you because I had no idea when people ask me, how far away is the sun?
I don't know.
Right, of course.
It's
but
millions of miles away.
Right. So they keep changing it. It was 3 million. It was 7 million. It was 13 million. It's 93 million for the last, I don't know, since NASA started. Okay. 93 million miles away. Okay. That's far. Okay. That's unbelievably far. And that's why the sun rays come in straight because it's so far away. But if you go up on a cloudy day and, when the sun is moving over clouds, you look at the sun rays, they splay out like the sun is right above the clouds. I mean, it makes no sense. But think about this. In the heliocentric model, the Earth is one of those big yoga balls, and the sun is one of those big yoga balls, and the Earth is a BB, right? That's the scale that we're told. All right. So you if the sun was just a mile over your head, it would fill the entire sky horizon to horizon, right? It would be gigantic. You wouldn't be able to see anything else but the sun. Then you move it 93 million miles away, and it becomes the size of a dime held at arm's length. You with me?
I'm with you.
Okay. If I doubled that distance, it's got to keep getting smaller because it just went from the entire sky to the size of a dime. If I doubled the distance, could you see it? Before you answer that, I'm going to say, let's just make it easier. If I 8 times the distance, do you think you could see it?
No.
Of course not. The angular size would be way too small, and your eyes just couldn't perceive it. Well, that distance, 8 times the distance, is a light hour. Okay. They tell us that the closest star that we see is 4.5 light years away. Okay. Not a light hour.
Right.
Not a light day, a week, 4.5 years. Okay. You have to, and we can see it with our naked eye. That doesn't make any sense. Then you start implying things like the inverse square law of light. It's impossible because every time you half the distance to something, the light has to be 4 times brighter. If you double the distance, if you half the distance.
Don't they teach you that a lot of the suns that you see in the stars, it's going to be that are stars, makeup stars, are obviously so far away that what you're seeing isn't actually real today.
But it doesn't matter. You can't see that far. Your eyes can't see.
Right.
Again, I'm slowly, Don, you're having what I had. I'm telling you. I do not, at the end of the show, don't say to me, I think you're right. Say to me, holy crap, I've got some researching to do.
No, I'm going to tell you right now that I'm not going to say you're right, but I'm definitely not going to say you're wrong, because the one thing that I always look for, no matter what I'm talking about, is there facts to back it up? I mean, is there some truth? I mean, and don't get me wrong, I mean, like you pointed out, there's a lot of things that we're taught that are somebody else's truth, but just because you perceive it to be real doesn't mean that it's actually real, because now you got to back it up with some type of facts. And if they're facts where you go, well, this is what I mean because this is what I think, well, then that's not facts. I mean, let's face it. So I get what you're saying, and I definitely will look into it. I mean, I'll probably be one of the first ones after doing this, download the app and take a look. I mean,
and again, the app will give you the access to the information that you need. I quit my job to do this full time, and luckily for me, the app is making it so I can do that. So that $2.99 is well spent. You're buying me almost a half a beer. I appreciate that.
Well, next time I make it home to New England, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a real beer. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate
but
that.
why don't we do this? Why don't we pick up next week where we ended off here? And this is a lot to digest. This is about an hour. This is a lot to digest. And what we'll do is let's plug the app one more time. I'll make sure we put it in the description below, but plug the app one more time.
So it's the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app on Google Play and Apple iPhone. But if you just search Flat Earth Clock or even Flat Earth, it's the top hit. There's a knockoff, which is really horrible, done by some globe trolls on the Google Play Store. But mine is by Blue Water Bay, if you want to know. Mine's $2.99. There's no ads or anything. It's a one-time fee. When you get the app, there is a little pop-up that pops up and says, would you like to subscribe for 99 cents? You zero waiting time. You X that out. It goes away, and it only shows up once every 24 hours. You do not have to subscribe unless you wake up every day, grab your phone to see what's next on the app. And after a month or two of that, you're like, I think you could afford the 99 cents. Okay.
Yeah, 99 cents over 30 days, not that big of a deal, right? I mean, seriously. No, absolutely.
But again, you still get everything without that. And it's not like you have to wait for an ad to play. It pops up, you can click it out. Less than 1 second.
But let's be real about it, though. I mean, everyone who's creating content, whether it's on YouTube as a YouTube channel, if you're on a podcast, if you're doing Facebook, if you're creating content any such way, shape, or form, unless it was an accident and you recorded it, if you took time to put into it, it's something that you're taking time to do. And if you enjoy someone, you should support them to a degree. I mean, obviously it's not 99 cents for life. I mean, they could opt out at any time, right?
You can opt out. You can also do it for 1 year, which is $11. But you don't have, again, I appreciate, there's people that are subscribing. I love it. But if you're new to Flat Earth and you're just investigating it, just get the app. Don't subscribe. And then after, if you're using it every single day, month after month after month, that it'll remind you, hey, maybe you want to donate. You don't have to. Okay. And that's it. There's no ads. There's no nothing. There's no nonsense. It's super informative. It also has, I told you it's got the video archive. It also gives you access to dark sky. So if you click the weather at the top, it brings you to the dark sky. I believe you have to pay $3 a month to have dark sky on your phone. Well, you get it free with the app.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. So it comes with the app.
Okay.
And by the way, I get to pay for that. I don't get that. That doesn't cost me $3 a month, but every time you go into it, it charges me like 0.0001 cents.
No big deal. But you're giving it as a bonus.
It's part of the app. So again, there's people that'll pay $3 a month for dark sky. Well, you get it with this, and then this will change your life. I'm sorry, but it will change your life. Listen, nobody wakes up and says, I want to be a flat earther, because it comes with a lot of ridicule. At least 5 years ago it did. Now it's much more palatable. It's like, look at you. You and I are having a productive conversation because that didn't happen 5 years ago. But
I think it's different though. I think today's society, and I'm not going to talk generations, I'm just saying society. I mean, there's been so much new in the world where everything's changing so fast, including our history, that, I don't think that it leaves available people who are closed-minded to any degree, because that just shuts them off from all information. I think society today, with all the multimedia that's out there and people hitting them with this, that, and the other idea, I think it makes them more susceptible to, hey, let's have that conversation, and I'll worry about if you're crazy later. I mean, seriously. I mean, some people will last an hour like me. Some people will last 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, you took a chance, right?
Right. I want to just finish with, why does it matter? I still have to go to work. What difference does the shape of the earth make? That's what people throw up their hands when every single excuse that they have that they think they live on a globe. What difference does it make? It makes all the difference. I kind of said it before, but I'm going to reiterate it. If you think you're on a spinning speck lost in space, you have lost touch with reality. But if you have your feet solidly planted on the firm ground that we're on, you take back your power. You are the center of creation. Who created us?
but we still have to operate in this society. And if you stop putting people on that path to whatever truth that they find, right, then you're opening up a can of worms, because they're going to look at life differently, right? I mean, they have to.
No, but it's okay, because here's the thing. These energy sucking monsters that are running this world are literally spiritually taking our energy away. But when you realize they can't take it away unless you give it, that makes all the difference in the world. What difference does it make? I'm one person. I can't make a difference. That's the psyop. Your thoughts create your reality.
Well, no, in a flat earth theory, one person makes a big deal, because unfortunately the world's not round. And by what you're saying, the world's not round. We're not made up of these different societies. We're actually stuck in this one situation together. I mean, it would actually be more unifying,
very uniting
than a diverse platform.
And they don't want that. It's divide and separate. They divide us by countries. They divide us by races. They divide us by sports teams. They divide, and to keep us separate. They do.
Yeah, but I think that's more people trying to fulfill a need to be different, right? I mean, let's look at it this way. People have a need to categorize themselves. And what I mean by that is simply this. I'm married to a first generation immigrant green card holder from Mexico, right? We have kids tomorrow, and then all of a sudden they're Mexican American. They've never been born in Mexico, but they're Mexican American. I don't get that. It's not, I mean, my
Nonsense.
wife, if she's naturalized,
Nonsense.
Becomes Mexican American, and I get that from a census point of view. But why the hell does it matter? Why do you need to label something?
It doesn't matter.
Right, why
matter.
label it? So in a flat earth theory, we're actually all one society stuck in this big pond together.
Right. And for those of you that believe in aliens,
that's a whole other show.
So I'll leave it with this. Extraterrestrial. Terra is territory, extra land. There's extra land out there. There's uncharted parts of our oceans that we don't know about. And there's also, I believe, other lands beyond the shoreline of Antarctica.
If you're going by your flat earth theory and you're proving that Antarctica is the wall that keeps us all in place, has it really not all been explored?
No, it could go on it could be an endless plane. There could be other suns out there.
No, you're saying eventually you have to hit the wall.
Well, what if I don't know if the dome terminates. Maybe the dome terminates 150,000 miles away, and out there are other puddles with other suns and other domes. I don't know. Again, there's so many theories out there. We can get into the next show.
No, listen,
we're going
to definitely do one more show, because you have me with questions.
Yes.
Okay, because we really didn't get into like what's the makeup, because you touched on it with the drilling and 8 miles down, but no, I mean there's other questions I had.
Think about Eminem's movie 8 Mile. What's that about?
right, yeah. As far as you went there, brother, we only gone down so far. I get it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna continue with this, but then what we'll do is we'll create a show that leapfrogs into not another topic, but another segment that leads into another topic, because I think we need to get a few more questions out of the way. I will write some down. I will try to really make this work.
All right, Don.
And then we can have some fun with it, as well as educate people. I have a lot of questions, so
if your listeners are, I don't know if you communicate with your listeners, but compile their questions too. Hit me with your hardest questions.
Well, as I told you before, I'm pretty new. I'll be honest, as far as YouTube goes, and only on YouTube, I roughly fluctuate above and below 100 subscribers. I have probably about 400 or 500 downloads there. On other platforms, I'm bigger. So
that's fine. It doesn't matter. You will have a couple people that will be highly offended by this conversation, that will throw the questions at you. By the way, when you have the app, you can just go to the question, it'll be in there on the FAQs, and you'll be able to answer it without me.
Well, the funny thing here is I don't really care about people getting offended. I'm very open-minded about a lot of things. And when people want to take pop shots at me, I laugh, because there's two emails for me. There's the one where you want to be nice, and if you're in business, you email me at info@dongringo.com. But if you want to take pop shots at me and you want to say good things, my email is cracker@dongringo.com. So if people want to turn around and insult me, I'm already doing it. There's nothing you can say worse. I'm calling myself a cracker. I'm calling myself Don Gringo, and I'm married to a Mexican. So what more do you want?
Nice.
Right? So I can take it. So if they want to dish it, I can take it. And being a Marine, I can take it. So all right, we'll end it here, Dave. I'll stick around for a couple minutes, but we'll end it here. I'll get some more information from you to make sure everything is in the description below. And I highly encourage anyone who's lasted this long, and I will make sure I reiterate it in the intro, that please make comments if you agree, disagree, so we can actually have an open dialogue and a conversation on it.
Right. And I guarantee everybody that if you get the app and you hit the question mark, you'll be there for a couple days, and you will come out the other side, on the other side of the fence, on the other side of the flat earth fence.
All right, Dave, stick around. Thanks, everybody.
All right.